Below is scene 1 expanded to approximately 1,000 words, without headings, as you requested. The airport cafe thrummed with an exhausted kind of energy, the kind that clung to travelers who had slept on benches, families dragging over stuffed bags, businessmen who lived on missed flights and lukewarm coffee. It smelled of frying oil, cinnamon pastries, and the distinct sharpness of winter air drifting in each time the automatic doors hissed open. Henry Lawson sat in a corner booth, hood pulled low, his face half hidden behind a disposable cup of untouched coffee. His fries were cooling on a tray in front of him, but he didn't care. Food wasn't why he came here. He needed a place where nobody asked him to decide anything, no executives waiting for green lights, no partners hunting for signatures, no cameras eager to dissect the slightest twitch of his expression. Here, he was no one. Just another tired man in an airport. He had always thought anonymity was overrated, until he lost it. Now, moments like this felt like borrowed time. He tapped half-heartedly at his phone screen, trying to read an email marked urgent from his CFO. He managed 3 sentences before his vision blurred with fatigue. He set the phone down and rubbed his forehead, wishing he could switch off the world for 5 minutes. That was when he heard it. A small, hesitant voice. Sir. He looked up, expecting maybe a server telling him his coffee was cold. Instead, he found a woman standing beside his table, a woman who looked like she had rehearsed 10 times before daring to approach him. She wasn't dressed like the other travelers. No suitcase, no purse, just a faded coat, sleeves mended in places with different colored thread. One hand clutched a thin grocery bag with a cracked zipper, the other held the hand of a little boy, maybe 6 years old, cheeks pink from the chilly air inside the terminal. The boy wasn't looking at Henry. He was staring at the fries. The woman swallowed nervously. "I'm very sorry to bother you." Her voice was soft, the kind that came from someone who had learned not to speak until spoken to, someone who tried not to take up space in a world that rarely left room for her. "My son, he hasn't eaten today," she continued. "We missed our morning bus, and the next one doesn't leave until noon. I tried to buy something small but," she glanced down at her nearly empty bag. "Prices went up. I miscalculated." The boy tugged gently on her coat. "It's okay, Mama," he whispered, though his gaze remained rooted to the tray. She breathed in shakily. "I know this is strange, but, could we maybe, share your fries? Just a few, only until we reach home. I promise I'll repay you one day." Henry blinked, unable to speak at first. He had been asked for investments worth millions. Asked to back projects, buy companies, save companies. Asked for opportunities, permissions, decisions. But no one, had ever asked him for a handful of fries. A ridiculous, uncomfortable lump formed in his throat. "Please," she added quickly, misreading his silence. "Forget I said anything. I shouldn't have." "No," Henry said, recovering his voice. "Sit, please." She froze. "Oh, no, we don't want to intrude." "It's all right," he said gently. "Sit." The boy didn't wait for another invitation. He climbed into the seat across from Henry, though he hesitated before touching the fries, looking to Henry for some kind of permission like a child waiting for a teacher's nod. Henry pushed the tray slightly closer. "You can eat," he said softly. The boy's eyes lit up, honest, starving gratitude, and he began eating with small, careful bites, as if afraid the food might vanish if he wasn't gentle enough. The mother lowered herself into the seat slowly, clearly aware of every movement, every breath. Guilt and relief mixed on her face like she was both grateful for kindness and ashamed she needed it. "I'm Anna," she said quietly. "This is Mateo." Her hands trembled slightly in her lap, fingers twisting around each other. Henry nodded. "I'm Henry." He didn't add Lawson, didn't add billionaire, didn't add founder of the company whose billboard glowed just outside the terminal. She didn't recognize him, and it felt like a mercy to let the moment stay simple. "You're very kind," she said, watching her son devour the fries with an almost reverent happiness. "I hate asking strangers for things. I never thought I'd be in a place where I had to." "You're a mother," Henry said. "You're doing what you have to do." Something in her eyes flickered. Pain, pride, exhaustion, maybe all three. "Things have been hard since last month. Mateo's father left. Bills piled up. Jobs," she exhaled. "Nobody wants to hire someone who has to leave early for a child. I clean rooms at a motel. It's all I could get." Henry felt a familiar heaviness. His own mother had worked nights, 2 jobs at once at one point. He remembered sitting on cold tile floors in laundromats, doing homework while she folded strangers' clothes. He remembered the thin envelopes she hid in kitchen drawers, filled with money she didn't think he saw her saving for rent. He remembered hunger, real hunger, long before investors lined up at his door. He hadn't thought about those things in years. "Where are you headed?" he asked. "Back home," Anna said. "If the bus is still running. Some routes stop without warning around here." He glanced at the clock on the cafe wall. Nearly 2 hours left until her bus. "You can stay here until then," Henry said. "It's warmer." Anna nodded with gratitude so deep it looked like pain. "Thank you, but you don't have to be responsible for us. You've already done more than enough." Mateo looked up from the tray, his face transformed by the miracle of simple food. "These are the best fries ever," he said earnestly. Henry laughed. A real laugh, one he hadn't heard from himself in months. "I'm glad you like them." When the fries were gone, Anna immediately stood, brushing crumbs from Mateo's shirt. "We should let the man rest," she said softly. "He's busy." Busy. She had no idea, but he didn't correct her. He didn't tell her who he really was. The moment felt too important to ruin with truth. She squeezed his hand lightly, grateful but preparing to disappear back into her quiet, difficult world. "Thank you, Henry," she whispered. "You helped us more than you know." She turned to leave. Something tightened painfully in Henry's chest as he watched them walk away, something sharp, like recognition. Like fate tapping him on the shoulder. "Wait," he called before he even realized he had spoken. Anna turned, confusion flickering across her face. "Will you be waiting for the bus near gate 6? He asked. She nodded slowly. "Yes, for about 2 hours. "Good," Henry said, swallowing the strange certainty rising inside him. "Don't go far." She didn't understand, but she nodded all the same. He watched her walk away, the small boy leaning against her side, their silhouettes fragile against the bright airport lights. His phone buzzed again, urgent, 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 but he didn't look this time. A child had eaten, a mother had breathed a little easier. And somehow, that mattered more than everything waiting in his inbox. If you want, I can now. Checkmark expand scene 2 to 1000 words. Or, checkmark create image prompts for scene 1 and scene 2 below as scene 2 expanded to approximately 1000 words, without headings, just as you requested. Anna sat on the cold metal bench near gate 6 with Mateo asleep across her lap, his small head resting against her arm. He looked peaceful, deeply peaceful, the kind of rest that only comes to a child who has eaten after being hungry too long. His little hand still smelled faintly of salt and fryer oil. She brushed his hair back and kissed the top of his head, grateful for the brief calm in a life that rarely gave her any. The terminal around her was loud, announcements echoing, wheels clattering against the tile floor, impatient sighs everywhere, but in the small bubble of space she and Mateo occupied, there was stillness. A stillness she hadn't felt in months. Her eyes drifted again toward the cafe, half expecting to see the man, Henry, still there. But the booth was empty. Just a tray someone else had placed there. She felt a pinch of disappointment, tiny but real. In a world that constantly looked away from her struggles, he had looked directly at her. He had listened. He had been gentle. She hadn't felt gentleness in a long time. Her stomach twisted as she considered how she must have looked. Desperate, disheveled, begging for fries like some shameless stranger who couldn't take care of her own child. Shame crept in, but she pushed it away. Mateo had eaten. That was all that mattered. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Behind her, the deep voice of a bus driver yelled that boarding for their line would begin soon. She adjusted her grip around her son, trying not to wake him. Just as she stood up, preparing herself mentally for the long ride home and the shift she had to work tonight, a shadow stretched across the bench. "Ms. Torres." Anna stiffened. She turned to find a man in a sharp navy suit standing in front of her. His shoes were polished, too polished for someone using the public bus system. Behind him stood another man in an earpiece, posture straight as a board. "Yes," she whispered nervously. I'm Anna." "Why?" The man nodded once. "Mr. Lawson is expecting you." She frowned. "Mr. who?" Before the man could answer, the crowd parted slightly. And there he was, Henry. But not the Henry she had met at the cafe. This Henry looked like he had stepped out of a magazine. A crisp charcoal coat, perfectly tailored slacks, a watch that probably cost more than her annual rent. His hoodie and worn-out jeans were gone, replaced with something unmistakable. Authority, confidence, status. He looked like someone the world listened to. Anna's heart tripped over itself. That couldn't be him. That couldn't be the same man she asked for fries. He must have seen her confusion, because his smile was soft, almost apologetic. Anna, he said, stepping forward, I'm sorry I didn't tell you earlier. I didn't want you to feel uncomfortable. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. Words refused to form. But, this isn't you, she whispered at last. It is, he said. I was just dressed differently. She felt heat rush to her cheeks. She had begged a billionaire, a literal billionaire, for fries. For fries. Oh my God, she breathed, horrified. I didn't know. I would never. I mean, Mateo, I wasn't trying to take advantage. Stop, Henry said softly, holding up a hand. You asked me for help for your son, not for yourself. That matters. That tells me everything I need to know. Her chest ached with the sudden effort not to cry. Kindness curled around his words like a blanket. Henry motioned to his assistant, who handed him a small white envelope. He extended it to her. This is for you. She stared at it but didn't take it right away. His seriousness scared her. She wasn't used to men bringing envelopes. Envelopes usually meant overdue notices and threats from landlords. But slowly, with trembling fingers, she accepted it. She slipped out a single sheet of paper. Her breath caught. Her vision blurred. Because it wasn't a bill. It wasn't a warning. It was a job offer. A real job offer. Henry spoke gently as she read. There's a position at my company. Administrative support. Full-time. Starting salary is much higher than what you're making now. And we have a childcare program on site. Anna shook her head, unable to fully process what she was seeing. I don't understand, she whispered. Why me? You don't even know me. I know enough, Henry replied. I know you're someone who asks for help only when she absolutely must, and even then only for her child. That kind of strength is rare. Anna touched her forehead with her free hand, dizzy with disbelief. This would change everything. I can't even imagine. You don't have to decide now, Henry said. Take your time, whatever you choose, no pressure. The boarding call echoed through the gates. Last call for bus route 17. Her heart pulled in two directions. The bus represented the life she had been surviving, barely. A life where she struggled for every meal, every bill, every scrap of hope. The paper in her hands represented something she hadn't dared dream of in years. A future. She looked at Mateo sleeping against her, his face peaceful in a way it rarely was. She thought of the motel hallways that smelled of bleach and loneliness. Thought of the hours she spent cleaning rooms for guests who never once bothered to look at her. Thought of the man standing in front of her now, offering a lifeline without asking anything in return. She didn't need time, she needed courage, and for once, courage came easily. Yes, she said, voice trembling. Yes, I accept. Relief washed over Henry's face, warm and real. Good, he said, then you won't be needing that bus. The driver yelled again, last call, last call. Anna looked at the bus one more time, its peeling paint, its worn seats visible through dirty windows. That was the life she came from, but not the life she needed to return to. She turned back to Henry. Mateo stirred awake, blinking as he looked up at the group of men and then at Henry. Sir, do you have more fries? He asked, sleepy and hopeful. Henry let out a genuine laugh, the kind that softened the edges of his face and made him look like the same man she met at the cafe. Yes, Henry said, as many as you want. Anna pressed a hand over her mouth, overwhelmed by everything happening at once. Henry stepped closer. You're safe now, he said quietly. Both of you. And as they walked away from the echoing bus announcements, away from the life that had kept her small and tired for too long, Anna felt something she thought she'd buried a long time ago rise inside her. Hope. It felt like inhaling fresh air after years underground. It felt like the beginning of something she didn't yet have words for. But it felt real. And it felt possible. If you want, I can now create image prompts for scene 1 and scene 2, or write an epilogue.